Today we will be examining the MGM Grand Hotel Casino fire that happened on November 21st, 1980. We will look beyond the statistical information and dive into what could have been done to prevent the injuries and deaths that occurred. The next video will give you a baseline of what went on that day.
The 26-story MGM Grand was the city's preeminent luxury hotel. It included a famous showroom, huge casino, fancy shops, and restaurants. The hotel was crowded when a small fire began in the MGM snack shop called The Deli. Shortly after 7 in the morning, the fire call came in at the station directly across the street from the hotel. The fire captain was Rex Smith.
According to the NFPA, there were around 3,400 guests in the register the day of the fire. There were 85 deaths and 650 injuries, as seen in the chart above. Let's take a look at the various causes of death to better understand what took place November 21st, 1980. Of the 85 deaths, let's take a look at the various causes. 75 deaths were due to a combination of smoke inhalation and carbon monoxide poisoning, known as asphyxiation. 4 deaths occurred from smoke inhalation alone, 1 directly from the burns from the flames. 3 deaths were from a combination of the burns and smoke inhalation. 1 death from a skull fracture endured while trying to escape the fire by jumping from a window of the structure. And 1 death ensued from a heart attack by panic. Now let's take a look at what these deaths tell us as to why the fire was capable of ensuing this much damage. Let's first start with the injuries. Many of the 650 injuries were related to the inhalation of smoke and carbon monoxide poisoning, previously referred to as asphyxiation. According to the Clark County Fire Inspection Report, 14 firefighters were hospitalized, and 300 rescuers and firefighters experienced symptoms of smoke inhalation and carbon monoxide poisoning, but did not receive treatment. As panic broke out, guests began tying sheets together and attempting to leap from the structure after breaking glass windows. The glass debris coming from extreme heights landed on those below and caused further injury. Smoke inhalation was the leading cause of all deaths and injuries seen in this fire. Design materials, construction, and a lack of protective systems contributed to the high levels of smoke witnessed in this fire. We will take a look at these factors in depth next to better understand why this fire was so lethal. Ozzie Merca of the Clark County Fire Department states that the presence of combustible furnishing and interior finished foam padding and moldings, air supply, and a very large undivided area allowed for an extremely rapid fire spread and heavy smoke production. The building's furnishings contributed to the very large amount of smoke that was created by fueling the fire, while these materials gave off much more smoke than typically seen with fire-rated materials. 3 major construction flaws are seen in this fire. They include the building's seismic joints, elevator hoists, and stairways. The following animation provided by the NFPA shows how smoke was able to rise from within the structure. As shown in the animation provided by the NFPA, the smoke was able to travel upwards through the building's seismic joints, elevator hoists, and stairways that had shafts from the ground floor to the rooftop. This allowed smoke to rapidly migrate upwards and into rooms. These areas should have included fire zone enclosures that prevented flow of fresh air to these areas in the event of a fire and prevent smoke from escaping this zone. This leads to the next and most deadly variable of the fire, the lack and failure of protection systems. As the smoke began to rise to the roof from the seismic joints and elevator hoists, smoke began to reach the air conditioning unit that was located on the roof and was then able to spread through vents aided by the draft of the system. The lack of smoke detectors was responsible for this system's failure in detection and proper emergency shutoff. Therefore, this kept the vents functioning as if nothing was wrong. Furthermore, maintenance staff applied lag screws to keep the dampers from shutting off due to high ambient air levels. This allowed the vents to stay open and allow smoke to travel even further. This leads into perhaps one of the most aggravating factors of the whole fire, as David Demers, the NFPA's fire inspection manager, came to the conclusion in his investigation that, with sprinklers, it would have been 1 or 2 sprinkler fire, and we would have never heard about it. Against the fire marshal's command to install fire sprinklers, the owner decided to save the estimated $192,000 that installation would have cost him, and spend rather billions and sacrifice 85 lives and the safety and well-being of thousands of others. Furthermore, the staff failed to notify the guests that anything was happening, and they were only made aware when the smoke reached the areas they were located in. This could have been prevented with intercom systems and an emergency preparedness plan. However, both were absent. But by this time, it was too late anyways, as the only 2 emergency exit stairwells within the guest area filled with smoke. They locked behind the guests and trapped and asphyxiated them. The lack of exits forced rescuers in helicopters and scaffolds, pictured above, to aid victims out from rooms and rooftops to prevent them from jumping themselves until a stairway was cleared for safe exit. Air Force helicopters flying above and aiding in the rescue effort consequently pushed smoke back down into the structure that was escaping. They were very noisy and deterred communication in the rescue effort, and additionally closed doors that had been left open to indicate rescue teams had checked a room already. Being the second deadliest fire in U.S. history for the time, the MGM Grand Hotel fire had many effects on fire safety today. For example, in May of 1981, Clark County Commission passed new fire safety requirements that made pre-existing structures over 55 feet responsible for conforming to new codes. All buildings over 3 feet had to be completely sprinkled. The reconstruction of the MGM Grand met with intercoms, smoke alarms, and sprinklers in all rooms and corridors. Additionally, a well-developed emergency preparedness plan and system was integrated and spread throughout the hotel. Survivors recall the fire often and take preventative measures such as having an exit strategy and ensuing proper safety features in buildings they enter. Rescuers now carry greater amounts of emergency oxygen tanks and masks that previously were not available. They also have precise maps showing locations of fire hydrants. The fire also called for very stringent fire inspections and code enforcements. NASA even recalls the fire in discussing their own safety practices. It is my hope that in this presentation you have developed the mindset to always plan ahead for emergencies. This includes having an emergency preparedness plan and ensuring the buildings you enter are equipped with proper prevention and protection devices. As we have seen through this presentation, the effects of not having the devices are lethal. I encourage you to check out the sources I've provided to learn further about this fire.